Hey,
Hi,
everybody! Welcome back to the homestead. How's everybody doing tonight? Make sure you leave in your comments where you're watching from tonight so we can go back and see where everybody's from later on.
Yep. And
if you're in Missouri, you're freezing right now.
Well,
Actually, a big part of the country,
yeah.
you're freezing right now.
Yeah.
I did see someone just down there from Australia, Sydney, Australia. What's the temperature in Australia right now? I'd like to know.
It's summer there.
I know, but what does that mean?
I don't know. It depends on where.
Let us know. It is Rick Thelian. Let us know, Rick. What's the temperature in Australia right now? And what time of day is it? It's 6 p.m. here.
Yeah, we're dreaming of summer over here.
Yeah, we could definitely use some summer heat right now. It was kind of a long day doing chores and everything else.
Yeah, we had a big cold front come through yesterday. We actually, overnight, like Saturday night into Sunday.
Right.
We were afraid we weren't going to be able to get to church because it was sleeting.
Right.
Freezing rain. And when we woke up, there was ice all like on the trees and on all of the fences and things like that.
Right.
But the good news is the ground was still very warm. So there wasn't any ice on the roads on the way to church.
Right.
But
we did have half of our church service with no power because the power went out. Basically, in that whole section of town, we lost power, and we were without power for like the first hour of our church service.
Yeah.
So,
but it worked out.
But it worked okay. Luckily, the heat had been on prior to that.
Right.
So by the time, like I said, the power was off for probably an hour and a half or so. And so it didn't get too bad inside the building. We still kept our service going anyway. And about halfway through the service, power came back on.
And we were able to get home quickly and just kind of hunker down. And,
At that point, it was still like 33, 34 degrees out, and the roads were still pretty warm because we've had some pretty nice weather up to then. But then right after all of the rain and sleet and everything stopped, right after that, the temperatures just plummeted. And last night we were down right around, I think, the single digits, or maybe 12 degrees, something like that.
Yep.
And today it never got above. I think the warmest I saw on our thermometer today was 20 degrees for the actual temperature. But then we had 15-mile-an-hour winds all day. So it felt cold. It was a good day to stay inside by a fire.
Yeah. We did get a little bit of snow, but probably not even an inch. I don't think.
No.
No.
Not even close to an inch.
So there's a little dusting of snow out there, but not very much at all. So we've been just happy kind of in the house today after doing chores. Chores was a pain.
Right.
We were just talking to Rich about that chores, after it's been so cold and icy, everything is frozen shut, all the locks and everything, but we all got it done with a bunch of complaining.
Yeah, pretty much every latch, every gate, everything was frozen. On our hoop coops, the ones in Waddlesville, I normally just have some big rocks that I lay on the ground. When I open them in the morning, I just put those rocks in front of the doors to hold them open. And I was out there with my boots on, just kicking at the rocks, and I couldn't even get them unfrozen from the ground. So I had to go to my shop and get some bungee cords to hold them open, which is probably really what I should be doing anyway.
I know.
But rocks were so easy, and they've worked all summer long. They were so convenient.
Yeah. Also, we kept it kind of a secret from you guys on the last live stream last Monday.
Some of you could tell we were keeping a secret.
So many of you were asking if Babe had calved, but we had recorded a video all through that time frame and didn't want to spill the beans. Right. So we kept that from you and announced through our video on Saturday that Babe had her calf on December 23rd.
Right, which just happens to be my grandpa's birthday. Obviously, my grandpa's passed away now, but his birthday was December 23rd. And so we named the calf after my grandpa. His name was Sylvester. So we named the calf Sylvester, and he is doing great. He's already grown.
He's so big.
A ton.
Yeah. He's been running all around the place and building up his muscles and stuff.
I can tell you, this cold didn't faze him. I looked out just a little bit before it got dark, and he was out there just running around like a kid playing in the snow.
Yeah. But he and Babe do have a nice, warm, dry place to go in that lean-to if they get too cold and get out of the wind.
Yeah.
And they're doing really well. And she and I have settled into a really nice milking routine. She hasn't kicked once. I do use a kick bar, but so that is going really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting about 2 gallons a day, a gallon in the morning and a gallon in the evening right now. And that's with Sylvester getting as much as he wants.
Yeah.
And really, since now, for the most part, it's just the 2 of us here, 2 gallons of milk a day is plenty.
Yes, absolutely.
In fact, it's a little more than plenty. But we're doing a lot to use it up, especially right now.
Yep. I started, I made ricotta cheese for the first time. And so we're experimenting with how to use ricotta cheese. And I also started a collaboraculture that I can use to culture different kinds of cheeses and sour cream and those kinds of things, so that I don't need to use the freeze-dried like cheese starters and stuff.
Right.
And so that is going well. And so we're just going to, jump right back into doing a million things with all these gallons of milk.
Yeah, I made a couple batches of farm cheese already. Yeah. We made some homemade ice cream already. So it's nice to have milk again.
Yeah. But it is the new year, and we aren't necessarily New Year's resolution kinds of people. Before we get into that, though, I want to take a moment to thank the people who are helping us. As you know, we don't do this alone this year, these live streams. We have a couple of people that
we have a team of people, hundreds of people behind the scenes.
No.
Okay, just Rich, Shelly, and Gavin.
Yeah.
But they work like they are hundreds of people.
They are very quick and efficient.
They are.
And they help us. And so we want to thank them. Rich and Shelly are from Air to Ground Farms and Air to Ground Meats. They have a meat shop in Ava. And Gavin is our son-in-law. And so thank you, Gavin. He's here with us. And Gavin is a realtor. And if you want to look for land in this area, make sure that you look him up.
Right. Or contact us and we'll get you in touch with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys.
Yeah. And if you're in Ava or in this area and you're looking for some awesome, fresh, farm raised meat.
Well, it's frozen.
Frozen, but local farm raised meat.
Yeah.
Rich and Shelly's shop in Ava is the place to be. And if you show up on a Saturday, we might even be there, because we like to hang out with them when they're actually in the shop.
Yeah.
A lot of days it's their daughter who is manning the shop for them because they run a farm just like we do. But on Saturdays, they're in the shop, and we try to go in and hang out with them for a while, too. So
I saw that their daughter, Rebecca, is officially the manager there.
She is?
She has a business card that says manager.
Wow.
I know. She's super important.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to call her and ask to speak to the manager.
Okay. Anyway.
I need to speak to the manager.
Back to New Year's resolutions. Kevin and I don't really do New Year's resolutions.
Nope.
But you have something you wanted to talk about. New Year.
Yeah, just a little change.
Update,
it's kind of something that I've done the last couple of years now, and that is for the month of January, and maybe even into the first part of February, or I don't know, maybe longer. Kind of, let's just say I don't like to put dates on things, so I'm doing the carnivore diet for at least the month of January, maybe the month of February as well. To me, doing carnivore diet, which for me is all animal products. All animal products. So I allow dairy, I allow eggs, all kinds of meat. I do eat seafood and fish on the carnivore diet. There's different versions, but any animal product is what I will consume. But no vegetables, no anything else for however long I decide to do it. And it's just, for me, it's a good way to reset after the holidays. I'll be honest that over the holidays, I wasn't terrible. I wasn't like the old Kevin from like 5 years ago, but I wasn't the new Kevin from 5 weeks ago either. So over the holidays, I did cheat a little bit. And for me, going into the new year, doing carnivore for 6 weeks or so gives your body a time to reset, gets you back in ketosis. You're burning fat instead of burning carbs. And, that's a good way to start off the new year.
Yeah.
And this time of year, when we don't have the gardens, I mean, there's no fresh tomatoes to eat anyway. No tomatoes, no green beans. You might as well just stick to animal products.
Just eat meat.
Right.
I am not doing carnivore. But I'm still doing keto, and I'm probably a little bit more strict now than I was during the holidays, but I'm just, back to doing the same old thing.
Right.
Yep. So we do have a topic that we want to talk about tonight. And, we've been in the house quite a bit, dreaming of nicer weather, even though I really feel like winter just got here. We're dreaming of nicer weather. So we started thinking about gardening season. And so we want to talk with you guys about the very first things we should be thinking about for gardening season. So the topic of the week is time to start gardening. Well, start thinking about it anyway.
Right.
So that is the
I
topic.
don't even know if we
today.
could dig a hole in the raised beds today.
No, probably not.
No, for sure not.
Yeah. So we just wanted, we picked out I think 6 things to talk about just to get your mind ready for gardening season, thinking that way, dreaming through those.
Of course, while I'm trying to do carnivore, we're going to sit here and have a conversation about tomatoes for next summer.
Well,
all right.
You got to have a dream. You have something.
Right. That's true.
You know what? No, it gives you hope.
It does.
Hope that winter will end.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is you can actually start some seeds this time of year.
Right. Not outside.
Not outside. Inside, using, your grow lights and things like that. Onion seeds can be started in January. There are lots of types of flower seeds that can be started in January because they take so much time to get big enough to plant outside. And
like
then snapdragons.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to ask that.
Well, I wasn't prepared. Snapdragons for
I know
sure.
you've got your list.
I do.
Right.
Yeah. Snapdragons you can start. And there are some herbs that you may want to start this time of year because it takes so long for them to get big. Yes, rosemary, the mints, really anything in the mint family. Right. Anything that has the teeny tiny seeds, those are going to take the longest to get big enough to plant outside.
Mustard.
No. Mustard grows
if you guys
so
didn't
fast.
see
Lord.
if you didn't see the mustard debacle of 2024, you should go back and watch some of those videos.
No, just give them a synopsis.
So I decided I was going to grow mustard last year because I love mustard. I love prepared mustard. Yeah. Whole grain mustard with the seed still in there and stone ground mustard. It's so good. So I was going to grow mustard and make my own. And the mustard plants, they were prolific. They grew huge. And I really wanted to just eat the plants because they're actually really good, but I didn't. I kept
the leaves.
Right, the leaves. And I kept my hands off because I'm like, no, I got to save it for the seed. And then they went to seed. And when I started trying to get all of those tiny little seeds out of their pods, I sat there for a half hour one day and I had a tablespoon of seeds. And then I was looking at how much you actually need to make mustard. And you need pounds. You need a quart of mustard seeds to make a decent amount of mustard.
Yeah.
And I figured that it was going to take me somewhere around 10 years to harvest all those seeds.
Well, the other thing is then after all of that business, he's like, I wonder how much it would be to buy a pound of it.
Organic seed.
From Azure Standard. So we looked it up. It's $6.
Right.
For a whole pound of organic mustard seeds that you could just order and then whip up into prepared mustard.
Right.
So from now on, we actually did order it.
Right.
It's still in the pantry in the package.
Right.
He hasn't made it yet.
No. It was supposed to be a winter project when things slow down. So maybe it will be soon.
Yeah. Maybe you can do it tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So you can already start January seeds. The other advice we have is it's time to learn from last year. What went well, what didn't go well, learn from your mistakes, learn from the things that went absolutely great, and then use that to start planning for next year.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do it this time of year while 2024 gardening season is still kind of fresh in your mind. Mm-hmm. Because if you're anything like us, by the time we get to actually planting again in May, we don't remember what we had talked about last year or what we had decided.
Right.
The good thing about us is that we go back and we watch our own YouTube videos to try to remember what we had said we were going to do. But,
well, one thing we discussed that we were going to do differently this year is with, we had a terrible aphid problem in the greenhouse this year. Terrible. Yeah. It almost killed all of our tomato plants.
Right.
So what we're going to do differently this coming year about the aphids is what?
Well, first of all, the second we see any, we're going to treat it like it's a huge problem.
Right.
Because that last year, I'll be honest, we got a little cocky. Like we saw them start and we're like, we always get some aphids. It's not going to be a big deal. We've got plenty of beneficial insects around. It's not going to be a big deal. And then before long, it was a huge problem. And once it got to a certain point, it was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get it under control and we ended up saving the tomato season for the most part, but we need to take it more seriously the second we see it this coming year.
The other thing that we're going to change for sure is that we've decided not to do any tomatoes outside of the greenhouse anymore.
Right.
Every year, even since we've had the greenhouse, we've still grown some tomatoes outside, and the sun is so intense that those plants and the tomatoes, they just take more of a beating than they do in the greenhouse.
Right. Because in the greenhouse, we have the shade cloth over the top, and the shade cloth is, cuts out like, I think it's a 60% shade cloth.
I think it might be 50.
50? I don't remember. But either 40, 50 or 60%. So it cuts off a lot of that intense sun. Now, the greenhouse is still, because we keep the sides up all summer, it's still just as hot as it is outside. But because it has that shade cloth over, that intense sun isn't just beating down on the plants all day. And I think that makes the big difference with the tomatoes for sure. We get almost no cracking.
Sun scald.
No sun scald. It just makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons too that we only grow peppers in the greenhouse now too. Is that even though peppers like the hot weather, that intense sun sometimes can really do a number on them, and a lot of the nice big bell peppers can get sun scald.
Right. And the other nice thing is by doing them in the greenhouse, we get a little jump start on the season.
True.
Normally we can plant 6 weeks, a month earlier in the greenhouse than we can outside. So instead of waiting till like the middle of May to plant tomatoes and peppers outside, we can actually plant those in the greenhouse around the beginning of April, which gives us a pretty good jump start on the season. And then we're getting big fruit before all of that intense heat comes around too. So,
and really it does extend our season later too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And the longer I can extend tomato season. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I like tomatoes. I've been known to eat a few tomatoes in my day.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing, when preparing for next gardening season, go check your pantry. Okay. If you are already running out of things in the pantry, then those are things that you need to grow more of next year. So start taking notes right now about how quickly things are moving through your pantry so that you know to plant more, or honestly to plant less of.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good indicator. If we're trying to replace the grocery store, we need to be planting what we're going to eat. But there's kind of a delicate balance, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, we've done that in the past where for 3 or 4 years in a row without paying like really good attention. You'll make a ton of salsa for several years in a row, and then oh my gosh, now we have we didn't even eat all of last year's, and now you just made another year's supply.
Right.
So definitely.
And actually, what you're saying was my very next point. Remember what you planted that ended up being way too much.
Right.
Like, how many times have we had so many cucumbers that were okay, first of all, nobody on the planet can eat this many pickles in 1 year.
Right.
And plus 1 year
I love refrigerator pickles.
We had so many cucumbers 1 year that the pigs wouldn't even eat them anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We would bring them another 5-gallon bucket and they'll be like, no, no, we're not going to eat any more of those.
And when a pig starts to turn something down, you've had too much.
Right. So think about the things that were just way too much and you don't either need because you're sick of them for the rest of your life, like I am with pickles, or your pantry is already totally stocked.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of honestly, pickles, those pickled tomatoes that I made last year, those were really good.
They were good.
They were really good.
However, we decided that they got way too vinegary if you didn't eat them fast enough.
Yeah, next year I would make smaller batches to go through them quicker, but they were good. I'll be making more. I've got tomato on the brain now.
Yeah. All right. Next up is when you're in Walmart, look around and start to determine the things that you buy at Walmart that you want to stop buying.
Right.
Like when we first moved here, we moved here in like the end of June, beginning of July. So there was no way we could have a garden. Right. So when I would go to Walmart or the grocery store or wherever you grocery shop, and I would see things on the shelves that I knew I could grow, I got so irritated that I had to buy those things.
Right.
But challenge yourself this year when you're at Walmart and you're buying produce.
Yeah, keep track of what you're actually buying.
Yeah, and see if you can replace that.
Right.
Last year we did not grow celery. And I wish that we had, because I do use quite a bit of celery when I make broth, actually, mostly. And just when you're making soups and stuff. And I wish that I had grown fresh celery. So that's what I'm going to stop buying from Walmart is celery.
Right.
And also.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, when's the last time there was a recall on something from your garden? Right. I mean, it really doesn't happen. So, I mean, you hear these recalls of produce and stuff from the store, and for me personally, it kind of freaks me out. Right. Maybe it's because we've been growing our own for so long, but it kind of freaks me out to buy some of that stuff from a store.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we might try this year that we haven't grown a lot of, and we don't really eat a lot of them anyway, but we want to do a few carrots.
Yeah. Yeah, we've worked a few of those types of vegetables back into our diet. I mean, obviously not right now, but like in general. So we would probably grow some carrots next year. And, and what we don't eat, we can share with my mom and dad and Grace and Gavin. And, Samantha will be home for the summer.
What I think would be fun. You know how when you make soup and stuff, you basically start initially with the same three things. You start with onions, carrots, and celery. And you cook them down, and then you put your broth in, and then you make your soup. Well, it would be awesome if I could grow all three of those, cut them all, dice them all, and put them in the freeze dryer.
Sure.
And then I could just even just in a jar. You just take out a cup or a half cup or whatever. Yeah. So I think that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's one of our ideas for next year. And let's see. Okay, so the last thing we wanted to talk about garden planning is if you have made some kind of New Year's resolution, or you are starting some new eating plan, like keto or whatever, that will, you won't be needing to grow those things in your garden.
Right.
I mean, start
planning. Or there might be
for
other
that
things. Now. Maybe you're going vegan, which...
Hey.
I mean, if you do, you might need to grow more dry beans because you might need more protein from legumes.
Right.
But, I'm going to have to grow beef sticks, I guess.
Beef sticks. Okay. Well, when we started eating a keto or low carb lifestyle, it really did change our garden layout.
For sure.
There were many things that we didn't grow anymore.
True.
But that also added extra space for us to add either new things or grow additional amounts of things that we could eat.
You know what changed the most when we started doing keto is we were able to plant our rows closer together. No, there were definitely things that we used to plant an overabundance of that really didn't fit with our new way of eating. Now, we've been doing keto now for two years, like officially 2 years, but really probably closer to 3 years where we were, the first year was kind of like back and forth.
I don't remember specifically.
But for sure 2 years where we've been pretty darn strict, and it has changed our gardening. So there's things like sweet potatoes that we don't grow anymore.
Or potatoes.
Or really, potatoes. Watermelon, we didn't grow at all last year. Cantaloupe. What else? Even
sweet corn. Did you say that already?
No, sweet corn. There were quite a few things that we decided, why grow them if we're not going to eat them? Right. And so we've just completely cut those out.
Right.
And that's freed up space in our garden to plant more of the things that we do eat and to try new things.
Well, speaking of trying new things, and that really don't go along with our low carb diet, there was something you were talking to me about earlier that you were wanting to try, even though it goes against kind of our eating habits.
Well, it doesn't. So what I want to try this coming year is I do want to try growing some watermelon. Now, in the past, we've grown these huge watermelons that are like
40 pounds.
Yeah, they're like 25 pounds a piece. And really, like, for the two of us, like,
that's way too much.
One of those would be enough for a whole summer.
Right.
So what I want to do this coming year is I want to try to find, and I'm hoping you guys can help me in the comments. I want to find a small watermelon, like, maybe like this big, that like the size of my head, I guess, or smaller, that will grow on a trellis. And I want to try growing them on our arches that go between 2 rows of the beds.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, we can have just a couple small ones when we really, just want a cheat day. Mm-hmm. We can have a nice cold watermelon. I can give a couple to my parents.
Yeah.
We can give some to the kids or take some to church.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want that way we're not growing this huge amount of them, and we're not, tempted to eat 20 pounds of watermelon. We can just have a couple real small ones.
Mm-hmm. So if in the comment section you could,
if you know of one that fits that criteria, I'd say like less than 10 pounds, can grow on a trellis, and I guess those are the criteria, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. So the seed catalogs are starting to come.
They are.
And I've been spending so many hours looking at them. I'm excited to get started on the growing season.
Yeah, for sure. It's this time of year is exciting, especially on days like today when it's so cold outside. Mm-hmm. To sit and think about summer. It's kind of the same thing that you do in August when it's so hot. Yeah. And you dream about days like today where you can sit inside.
Well, the last time we were in Walmart, I was actually going down by where they had the Christmas stuff to see if I could still find anything worthy of buying in the Christmas clearance, which there wasn't. But they were bringing out their spring stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know.
All their hoses.
Like the garden hoses and plant starting, like seed starting mix. And I know it was a little strange.
Well, you guys, I think even though we're 4 minutes ahead of schedule, we're going to start the Q&A section of our live stream. Hopefully you guys know that the format is generally that we have a topic that we talk about and, some chit chat here and there for the first 30 minutes. And then the second 30 minutes of our time together, we have an open Q&A.
Right. It can be either about gardening, like what we were just talking about, or anything else homestead related, or I guess anything related, but we may not answer things that aren't homestead related. We'll see.
Right. Thanks, Rich. It looks like we have a super chat.
Yeah, super sticker.
Super sticker. I don't know the difference between a super chat and a super sticker.
I think a super sticker is just a way of saying thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know. We're making it up as we go along here. John Ammerman.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate that. We really do. There is a question here. I also want to just show this really quickly. Bigfoot Family Farms, they are new members to our YouTube community. Great. And we really appreciate that. So welcome, Bigfoot Family Farms. Here is one question from Debbie Thompson for me. When you use canning jars for storing freeze-dried food, do you use oxygen absorbers or silica packets? Please explain your process and why. I will use oxygen absorbers in something that I know that I'm not going to be starting to use right away. Once I open one, I don't keep it in there because I know I'm going to work through it quite quickly. But initially, when I first vacuum seal them, yes, I do use an oxygen absorber.
Right. Maybe she doesn't know. We use a handheld vacuum sealer on the jars. That seals the lid on the jars.
And so I guess you could argue that you wouldn't need an oxygen absorber if you use one of those vacuum sealers, but it makes me feel better. You go through a lot of work growing. I mean, we grow a lot of the things that we put in the freeze dryer. And so if I'm going to grow it and I'm going to freeze dry it, I want to make sure that it stays perfectly in that jar. And so I do use an oxygen absorber.
Right.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see. Let's just talk about this. You okay?
Sure.
With that? Nancy Sala. Wednesday videos. Yes or no?
No, not for the time being.
Right.
For right now, we are going to be doing over the winter for sure. We're going to be doing a Saturday video and our Monday live stream, and Wednesday videos are going to be out. Not only is there just less going on the homestead over the winter, but we also just need a little downtime. And part of living this life is learning to live kind of seasonally. And when the seasons slow down, we should slow down as well.
Yeah. Good answer. Greg Pillow, what do you plan to do for an extended power outage in the winter?
Do you plan to do for an extended power outage? Well, for one thing, we heat our house with wood, which is why it's 87 degrees in the house right now. So we heat with wood, so we're not worried about that. We do have some things in place for water, like for the animals. Like they were predicting this ice storm that just went through the last couple of days. They were predicting it to be a lot worse than it ended up being. So we were kind of prepared for things for the power to go out for extended periods of time. So like I filled up, I think 5 or 6 50-gallon drums of water, and I put those in the greenhouse. So they might freeze a little bit on top, but as long as the sun comes out during the day, they'll warm back up in the greenhouse. And that gives us, 250 or 300 gallons of water for the animals during a time when we might be without water. Our cattle this time of year are drinking out of a spring, so that doesn't freeze, so they have water. As far as the house, you have a couple solar generators. I just showed you guys one on a video recently, actually, where we were preparing for winter.
Right.
It's an Anchor brand solar generator that just does really, really well.
Yeah. We can cook on top of our wood stove if
Correct.
we need to. And we do have a propane stovetop that if I needed to light with a lighter or a match or something, I could. We also have a solar oven. Where if the power is out but the sun is shining, we can cook something kind of like a crock pot situation.
And my pellet grill, I've run my pellet grill off the solar generators in the past, and it does fine on that too. They use really a tiny bit of electricity, so it's you can definitely run a pellet grill off of the solar generator.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Solar battery bank.
Solar battery bank.
I got yelled at recently for calling it a generator. It doesn't really generate power. It holds power and then releases it from the battery bank.
And then captures it again from the sun.
So
got it. Rick Weed, question from Pulaski, Wisconsin.
Hey, Pulaski. Been to Pulaski many times.
Do you ever plan on baling your own hay for your cattle?
We don't. Now, don't hold me to that, but here's my reasoning. We have a neighbor who bales our hay on the halves, and as we expand, we will probably need more hay than our half of that hay. I've done the math, and in order, like my current tractor would not be big enough to pull a baler, so I would need to buy a new tractor, and I would need to buy all of the baling equipment. And when I added all of that up, I mean, for decent equipment, you're looking at, $100,000, close to $100,000. And
even if you bought it used with the tractor and the baling equipment, it's easily $50,000.
Yeah, easily. For sure. For the round balers like we use. And even if we have to spend an extra, say $1,000 a year on hay, like this current year, we bought some hay. We bought, I think we bought 10 bales at $70 a bale. So we spent $700. We probably wouldn't have actually needed it, but we were kind of close. And I feel better having more than not enough. Right. So we bought 10 bales. So we spent $700. But even say we had to spend $2,000 a year on more hay, we'd have to do that for 25 years just to break even on buying the equipment. And that doesn't then take into consideration the upkeep on the equipment, the fact that we don't really know what we're doing. Right. So no, we don't plan on doing it. We'll continue having the deal we have with our neighbor where he cuts our hayfield for us. We split the hay and then we'll buy whatever we need extra beyond that.
Good question.
Good question. Rick. Yes. And trust me, I've given it a ton of thought.
Many times a year. Oh, Remnant Farm, thank you so much for your super chat.
Yeah, $20 super chat. Thank you.
super chat. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want you to know I love you guys, and I'm always learning from you. We just processed our first cow here in Washington State.
Nice.
Good. Thank you for your helpful videos over the years. God bless. Well,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's an awesome. It's an awesome feeling to have an animal that you raise in your freezer and ready to provide food for your family.
Talk about security.
Right?
Yeah. Here is a question from Anna Schnetzer. Can you sell raw milk from your farm?
Yes.
Yes. In Missouri, we can sell raw milk off the farm, or you can meet at a meeting place somewhere else, like in the community or whatever.
Right.
But we could not sell our milk at the farmer's market.
Right.
Or at a place of business like a store, like at air to ground farms or air to ground meats. You can't buy raw milk there.
Right.
But it is legal in the state of Missouri to sell off the farm.
Right.
Which is awesome.
And hopefully it stays that way.
Yes.
But before we get to the next question, no, we do not currently sell milk from our farm.
No.
Between what we use and what we give away to other people, we don't have milk for sale. So just so you know.
Oh, here's a fun question from Teresa Roche.
Love Monday night videos.
Thank you. Since you're staying away from sugar, how do you sweeten your homemade ice cream?
Usually with stevia. Yep. But what's the other? What?
We're looking into allulose?
Yeah, allulose is the other one. Rich and Shelley use it and really like it. But we've always used the stevia. And
stevia drops. Right.
And I'll tell you this. Even though I'm doing carnivore right now, I have there's been 2 exceptions that I've allowed myself. Stevia in very small amounts. So the little bit that we put in the homemade ice cream, I allowed myself to have that. And then every day, like, I eat yogurt every day. I've talked about this a lot. So while I'm doing carnivore, I'm not putting the blueberries and nuts in there, but I am allowing myself just like 3 drops of stevia in each bowl, just because I don't like yogurt that's not at least a tiny bit sweetened. So I'm allowing myself stevia in that. And then I am allowing myself to still have sparkling water, flavored sparkling water, because there's no sugar, there's no sweetener of any kind in these. So even though technically it's not carnivore, I'm counting it anyway.
Here's a question from Angel Stebbins. Looking into growing beets and garlic this next year, any recommendations on beets for the spring and the best way to grow them in raised beds? Well, beets are pretty easy, and you can plant them in the ground very early, probably a month or so before your last frost. They will germinate in very cold weather. Right.
We've had them germinate. I think one year I think it was 40 degrees and they germinated.
Yep. So they're pretty easy. In a raised bed, they're going to be super duper easy because they're going to be able to grow really big. Their root ball, because it'll be nice and fluffy ground. The one thing about beet seeds is that each seed is really a package of seeds. So when you plant it in the ground, you can expect 2 to 5 or 6 little beet seeds or beet seedlings to come up. And so you'll need to thin those out. You don't want them to grow right next to each other. But overall, they're easy and you can plant them early.
What's the variety that we normally do? Something long standing? Is that what am I thinking?
No, that's spinach.
Oh, that's spinach.
I don't remember.
What am I thinking?
If I looked through a catalog, I'd be able to tell you, but I can't remember.
It's actually been a few years since we've grown beets.
We are not in love with beets.
No.
I don't like pickled beets at all. I would eat cooked beets with a lot of butter and salt.
I don't mind pickled beets, but not sweet pickled beets.
Oh, you like sweet pickled beets?
Yeah.
I don't like sweet pickled anything.
But now that we're doing keto, that's out. So
yeah. Okay. Well, so that was a really long answer to a pretty short question. I was looking at this one before.
And garlic. Wait, her other question was about garlic.
I'm sorry. Let me go back.
But garlic, typically you want to plant that in the fall.
Like September.
Yeah. You want to plant that at the end of the season so it comes up the next season.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed that we don't grow garlic?
Right.
We don't grow garlic. Rosie's here.
Rosie came to say hi. Come here, Rosie. There she is.
Hey. Garlic. We don't grow garlic because we don't eat a lot of garlic because it actually really bothers my digestion.
Yeah.
So when we need garlic, we just use a little bit of garlic powder that we get from Azure. So, but yes, you would want to plant those in probably September. This was the next one I was looking at.
We're sitting on bar stools. It's not easy holding a dog when you're sitting on a bar stool.
This is from I Expect Miracles. Did you know you can freeze dry milk for milk powder to use when milk is not flowing freely? Did you know that?
I did.
Yep.
And we've tried it.
We have. We've done that successfully.
Right.
We don't do that a lot because we actually don't use a lot of milk.
Right.
We don't drink a lot of
like
milk in like milk form. Right. Most of our milk that we get from our cow, we use to make into other products because we're not milk drinkers. I use the cream and half in my coffee, like every day, all the time. We make butter, but we make a lot of cheese and we make a lot of ice cream.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we did know that. We'll probably do that again for like security kind of purposes.
Right. The biggest thing with that is you really need to make sure you get all of the cream off the milk because cream does not freeze dry. It'll stay like sticky because there's so much sugar or fat in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need to get all of the cream off and then it will freeze dry pretty well.
Right. We got a super sticker.
Right.
From Bigfoot Family Farms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're the ones who just joined.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
You.
Yeah. And here. Oh, this is such a good story. From Steve Kissinger. Question for Kevin. What's the story with that vintage John Deere tractor I saw in one of your recent videos?
So I have a very good friend of mine. His name is Joe. And Joe is 85 years old. And he restores John Deere tractors. So he has a lot. Like when you go to his house, and he lives, on acreage like we do. And when you go over to his place, all you see is John Deere tractors.
I think he has like 40 some, doesn't he?
So, yeah. I mean, it depends what you consider a tractor because he has parts everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It might be half a tractor here, half a tractor there. But yes, he's got a ton. And so, Joe's 85 years old. I don't want to say too much about that, but he's not going to be around forever. And he is just one of my favorite guys in the entire world. So I really wanted a tractor from him. So last year, he had this tractor that I have now. It's a 1957 John Deere model 420 tricycle. And he had it, and I asked him if he'd be willing to sell it to me, and he made me a pretty good deal on it. So, I now have that tractor, and it's not really for work. I drive it around the hayfield and I drive it around different places, and I just put my earbuds in and blast some good country music and drive around on my tractor, and it's fun, and I enjoy having it, and I really enjoy the fact that it came from Joe, and that it's going to mean a lot to me down the road.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So that's
at some
story.
point we're going to try to put a wide front end on it though, so it's a little heavier in the front because that tricycle, it can get kind of bouncy sometimes.
Yeah. Ricky Baker, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He asked, or she, it could have been a she. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
I don't have my readers on, so don't expect me to see that tiny little picture.
Why do you choose to go with dairy cow versus Nigerian dwarf goats? Thanks for all of the educational videos. Well, actually, Nigerian dwarf goats were the first dairy animal that we raised. We got our first ones in the Phoenix area when we lived in Gilbert. And then we got them again when we first moved to Missouri. And I really did love the Nigerian dwarf goats. They were super sweet. Out of all of the types of goat milk I've drank, the Nigerian dwarf milk is the sweetest. It has the highest amount of butter fat. See, all these good things. But over time, we kind of graduated kind of past goats and wanted to get into dairy cows. A couple reasons. Cows are much easier to contain in a fence. Goats get out all the time. You can separate the cream easier out of milk, out of cow's milk than goat's milk. Goat's milk is naturally homogenized, so the fats, like the cream and stuff, are bound in with the milk.
So you have to have a cream separator to separate the milk, the cream.
And overall, cows are just easier.
Right.
They aren't picky on what they eat. They eat lots of grass and hay. Goats can be picky about what they eat out.
I don't know who started that myth that goats will eat anything, but it certainly is not true.
No, and they're pretty picky about the kind of hay and the quality of hay. And they'll just tell you they're never going to eat that hay, and you just wasted a bunch of money on it. So anyway, and in the end, I have absolutely fallen in love with our dairy cows. Right.
And the goats really just didn't produce the volume that we needed for all the things that we wanted to do.
Yes, absolutely. Ricky sent another $5. Thank you so much. And added, I raise my own meat rabbits, Nigerian dwarf goats, and chickens because of you guys. Awesome.
Thank you.
Good job.
That's a compliment. Thank you. Yeah.
And Teresa B, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. She said, when I was able to garden, my favorite veg to grow was probably new potatoes. Green beans and carrots, mostly purple carrots because they taste between a carrot and a parsnip. Huh. I'll have to give those a try.
Yeah, we'll have to try some.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
And the new potatoes, they're so good.
Yeah.
You dig them up and they're just tiny and you boil them up.
Bigfoot Families, another super chat, $10. Thank you so much. They said, I met you guys at Walmart the other day. I wanted to say thank you for being as awesome in person as you are in videos. Well, gosh.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Life is too short to try to be anybody but who you are.
Yeah.
Because it's tiring enough just being me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone else too.
How could you remember everything so differently?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Ask a politician, I guess.
Next question, is from Tova Carver. Hey, Tova.
Hey, Tova.
She is asking, does that include honey? And I think what she's asking is, you said that you are only eating animal products.
Oh, yes. So, no, honey. I wish I could find a loophole that allowed that, but it's too much. Your body treats honey pretty much the same way it treats any other sugar, and that kind of defeats the purpose, but
Polly Holloway asked, did you guys get a lot of ice?
No, not a lot.
No. And what we did get melted that afternoon because it got to 37 degrees.
Yeah. So the ground really didn't get very icy at all. There were on our deck, we had to put some ice melter down, but that's up off the ground. On the actual cement, it didn't really freeze. It didn't really get icy.
When Samantha got home from work, because her car had been parked all day, I think on her car was probably less than a quarter of an inch.
Right.
So we didn't really get a whole lot of ice, thankfully.
Right.
But we tried to be as prepared as we could have been.
It's always good to prepare because then you probably won't need to use all the stuff you prepared. But if you don't have something, you better believe you're going to need it.
That happens to us all the time. Next question is from Hammer and Faith Farms. Question for both of you. Hello from West Virginia. What is the average age at which you've processed your IPPs?
It's usually around 9 months. So usually 6 to 7 months after we get them, like when we're raising feeders. So normally you'll get them around 8 weeks old, and then 6 to 7 months after that, you're going to be able to send them off to be processed or process them yourselves. So it's in that 8 to 9 month range, depending on, how big you want them to be, whether you're doing them yourself, whether you need to wait for an appointment at the processor, that's what I was gonna say. Things like that. But in that range, and normally at that point, they're somewhere between 250 and 300 pounds. Yeah. We haven't gotten ours back that we took in a couple weeks ago. So when we do, we'll let you know what they ended up being this year.
Yeah. Here we go. This is from Kat McCary. She says, I heard Three Rivers Homestead say that you like the Canadian squash, that it's better for bugs here in Missouri. Is this true? Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I actually sent her the seeds of the Canadian crookneck squash that she grew, and she loved them.
Right.
So yes, we do. Now there's it specifically called Canada crookneck squash.
Right.
So if you want to find those seeds, you need to look them up that way.
Right.
Canada crookneck squash.
Right. And really the bugs don't get on them at all.
No, the squash bugs don't.
They might go on them, but they don't damage them at all. They don't hurt the plants. There's something about those plants they don't want to eat.
Yep.
you'll find them every once in a while under the leaves, but they're doing no damage, and they're really just kind of hiding out there while they go eat all your other stuff.
They're really the only resistant variety of squash that I know of, that are resistant to the squash bugs. Speaking of Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, she had her baby today. So if any of you follow her and didn't know that, she had a baby and they're doing really well. From Joni Jimison, I forget, do you do horseradish? We do, and just love it.
We do have some horseradish. It's in a tub, in a Crystal Licks tub that I got from a neighbor several years ago. I've been looking for a good place to plant it in the ground, and I know that it's going to spread a ton, so I haven't found a really good place yet. But yes, I love horseradish. I love prepared horseradish. In fact, when I make my mustard, I'll probably make some horseradish mustard as well. So
I'm not a fan of horseradish, but I like to grow anything, so I'm happy to grow that. This next question is from Jason S. I want to grow more tomatoes this year. When is the best time to start seed starters?
Hey, this is a good time to mention your seed starting cheat sheet.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned it before actually. So it really depends. The first answer is it really depends on when your last frost date is.
Right.
And because you're going to want to start those seeds about 8 weeks before you want to put them in the ground.
Right.
So we have a seed starting cheat sheet that has tons of information about how to plant seeds, when to plant them inside before you plant them out into the ground.
And it works for every part of the country.
Yes.
Actually, every part of the world, as long as you know your last frost date.
Absolutely. And so that cheat sheet, it has like all the vegetables, lots of flowers, and lots of herb seeds, and when to do all those things with them. And we sell that on our website. It's only $2.
Right, $2. You download it as a PDF, and that way you can print out as many copies as you want. Right. And it's a really good resource.
Yeah, it's really extensive.
Sarah put a ton of work into that.
Yeah.
So
lots of hours for the $2. Yeah. So yeah, but they need about 8 weeks before they go into the ground.
Right. And plant more than you want to grow. I mean, just because you're going to lose some, that's just, we always start, at least like a third again, as many as we need.
Right. This is funny. April G says, I just realized Kevin isn't wearing a shirt with a saying on it. Hope he's feeling okay. Yeah, neither of us do today, actually.
I don't know.
But that shirt, I told him earlier, that shirt looks really nice on him.
That's why I left it on.
Oh, well, hey, I guess you're going to wear one every day now.
Right?
Sherry Johnson, don't laugh, but what is an aphid?
An aphid is how Satan proves he's real.
Whatever. So an aphid is a little bug.
Right. A little green bug.
That lives on the underside of vegetable leaves. So it could be more than vegetables, but your garden plants on the underside, and they suck out the juices of the leaves and basically can kill your plants over time.
Right. And they leave behind like a real sticky residue on all your plants. And like your tomatoes will turn kind of black and have a sticky residue on, which a lot of times then will attract ants and other things.
Yep.
And so they're, if you see them now, I'll tell you that last year when we had that big problem, if you haven't seen those videos, what we ended up doing is we used milk to get rid of the aphids. We actually bought a blower that like a vaporizer that vaporized, so we could fill it with milk and water, and it like vaporized all the milk onto the leaves. And when that happens, it like shrink wraps the little aphids, and it worked really well.
Yeah. What I did though is the day after we did all of that, because the milk kind of saran wraps them and suffocates them, but it also like sticks them onto the backs of the leaves.
Right.
So the next day I would take a hose with a sprayer end, and I would just all over the tomato plants and all the plants.
Right.
And then the aphids would wash off, so you could see like, are you gaining any ground?
Right. And we did that several times.
Absolutely.
Ongoing for a few weeks, and then they were pretty much under control after that.
Yeah. Let me see here. I was reading this and I didn't read through it all. Deidre Goss question. I want a grow light to put on a wire shelf to grow pepper plants from seed. What kind should I get? This is a really great question.
If you're just doing a good LED grow light is going to do good for you. We personally use the red and blue grow lights. And if I had to do it again, I would tell you I probably wouldn't do that. I would just go back to using a white grow light. But the LED ones these days, you can pick them up on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. That's what I would get. It's a little bit of a learning curve if you're used to using the old, fluorescent bulbs. So it's a little bit different with the LEDs because they're so bright. But there's so many brands out there now for just starting plants at home. I wouldn't worry about spending a ton. You should be able to pick one up for, I'd say, under $30. Probably get like a 4-foot light, and it'll be great to start your seeds in.
Yeah. Before we move on, just show everybody what we're drinking. Everybody's always so captivated, wondering what we're drinking. I'm not sure if they're really curious or if they want to see if we're I don't know, having cocktails or something. No, this is just Waterloo, sparkling water. My flavor today is watermelon. Let's see. This isn't a question, but I want to say great job. Keep up the good work. This is Sherry5353. She said, I started the carnivore diet 3 weeks ago. I eat mostly beef, eggs, yogurt, cream in my coffee, and once in a while, frozen 3 berries from Costco. Off 52 units of insulin.
Wow.
Off, I don't know that drug name. Glipizide, and lost 8 pounds.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you.
Wow. That is awesome.
That is amazing.
Great results. Yeah. Keep up the
and stories like that. We've gotten so many emails with stories like that. It's amazing. When we started doing keto several years ago, I initially lost almost 30 pounds. I've kept off about 25 of those 30 pounds. And gosh, just, my skin issues went away. My joint issues went away. It's really just amazing. What a difference you can make by making some pretty, now carnivore might be a significant change, but even some pretty small changes in your diet, eliminating sugars in general, is going to make such a huge difference.
Yeah. Just reading through more of these. I'm going to go check on Rosie because she sounds like she's getting into trouble.
Someone's getting in trouble.
But this is from Michelle Jackson. Have you had any bird flu in your area? Here in Northern California, the chicken egg layer farms have been hit hard.
Not that I'm aware of. We haven't, not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anybody locally here talking about it. I haven't heard any local reports of it. But we, right here in our local area, we don't have a lot of big eggs, so we don't have the big chicken farms and things like that around. We haven't experienced any problems right here, so not that I know of. Let's see. I got to do Sarah's job here, and I don't have my readers on. I'm getting too old to print this small.
Okay, Georgie Clifton. Hubby and I watching from, how do you say that? Suffolk? I don't know how to say that. I'm so sorry. I'm not very worldly. Virginia. Wondering what your secret is to growing celery. There are 2 secrets to growing celery.
Okay. I can't wait to hear them because I don't know what they are.
My first secret for growing celery is buy your plant starts from somebody who does better than you, because I cannot start celery seeds.
I knew you were going to say that.
Really?
Yeah.
I am from the Amish lady,
right,
who does really well.
Right. Yeah.
Because I
wonder why. I don't know
good at that.
I don't know what. I think that's the only thing you've had a hard time starting over the years.
Yes, absolutely. So that's number 1. Get your plant starts from somebody else. The second secret is they need a lot of water. So don't let them dry out. Right. I'm not saying, drown them, but they just need water all the time. When you think about
celery, they're mostly water.
Right. And if you don't give them enough water, they'll get thin and just kind of bitter and yucky. But I don't ever worry about covering the stalks and stuff up with dirt to keep them light colored. They normally do that, and I don't do that. So I just grow up. I don't harvest it all at once. I harvest from the outside as it keeps growing. I harvest more and more.
That's right.
And that works really well for me.
The last time we grew them, they were prolific.
Well, it was one of those things, kind of like the Tabasco peppers. When you're planting them, you're like, oh, 6 plants, that's not a lot. And then you're like up to your ears in celery and Tabasco peppers.
Right.
So that is one thing we learned again the hard way this year, was if you want to plant Tabasco peppers, you don't need 6 of them.
Right.
2 is plenty. Probably just 1 is necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're on to our last. Oh, T-Bone 76, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hammer and Faith Farm, $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. And I think we're going to be on to our last question because it is 7 o'clock. So let's take one more. I think we should let Rich pick one for us. Rich.
Oh, you're putting him on the spot.
Rich, pick out a good one for
gosh.
us. Or make one up.
Well, here, otherwise, I feel like we put him under the gun here.
All right, well, pick one while Rich looks for the final one.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
he got one. Here we go. Do you need to amend the soil under landscaping cloth? We bought what you recommended, but now unsure about the soil under from year to year. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do recommend if you're growing in the ground that you pull the weed fabric up either in the fall or in the spring before you plant and amend the soil underneath.
Yeah.
You can amend like if you only want to do like every other year for the whole garden, you could amend like when you dig a hole, you could put some, rabbit manure and things like that down in the hole when you're planting your plants. But in general, yes, you're going to have to pull the weed fabric up so that you can amend underneath the weed fabric.
Yes. So, well, it's been an hour.
I can't believe it's been an hour, honestly.
It's been wonderful, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
We have really grown to love these Monday night lives. We hope that you continue to join us every week. We'll be back next Monday at 6 o'clock again. Hopefully by that time the weather will warm up at least a little bit, although I think we're supposed to get snow Friday. Mm-hmm. So we may have snow on the ground by next Monday when we talk.
Yep.
And that is another whole different way of homesteading.
Yep.
So
you guys, until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.